Welcome back and welcome to another top 10. This top 10 was suggested by Hayley. Hayley has a book blog and a YouTube channel, and she suggested it over on Twitter, so I'll leave all the links to Hayley down below. And she asked that I do a video giving my favourite book by my favourite author. So I have 10 authors here. I have 5 actual copies of my favourite book by that author, and then I have 5 other books by that author, and I'll tell you which is my favourite one of theirs. So I don't have copies of all of them, but I can show you other books by them if you're just looking to break into that author. So we'll start off with Page Toon, and my very favourite Page Toon novel is her most recent one, The One We Fell in Love With. I did a whole book talk on this one, so just click back to look at that. I've also featured it on my blog. I just loved it. And that is my favourite Page Toon novel so far. Then Lucy Robinson. She is going to be releasing a book, I think, this year, but she's doing it under her real name. But I love the Lucy Robinson books, and it was a close call because I really do love The Greatest Love Story of All Time, which was her first Lucy Robinson novel. But this particular one here had me staying up till very late at night to finish it, and that is The Day We Disappeared by Lucy Robinson. This one was just so completely unexpected, and I just loved it so much. So that's how come it kind of made it into be my favourite Lucy Robinson novel. Then another of my very favourite authors, C.L. Taylor, and I just loved her very first book, The Accident. This was another one of those that kind of had me sort of rushing to finish but waiting to finish, and I actually made everybody wait to go out for my dad's birthday dinner so that I could finish off the last 17 pages of this one because I absolutely needed to know what happened. Then Lisa Jewell. I've got a Lisa Jewell book on my TBR this month, which I'm very much looking forward to reading. But my very favourite book of hers is The House We Grew Up In by Lisa Jewell. Again, this one was a very tough call because I love Ralph's Party. Ralph's Party is just a classic, and it's my first Lisa Jewell book, and it's it's one I read during my sort of formative reading years, but this one was another one of those that was just such a page turner, and I just couldn't put it down. I was shocked by events that happened, and it was just such a compelling read. So The House We Grew Up In by Lisa Jewell is my favourite Lisa Jewell novel. Then we have Miranda Dickinson. Now, I don't actually have the paperback, the main release paperback of this one. I have the large print paperback. I don't have the main release because Miranda came into school to speak to some of my children, and all of her books then I had to buy so that my children could read them, and they all ended up sort of staying at school when I left school. So I don't have a copy of this one, but I do have the large print copy, and my favourite Miranda Dickinson is Fairy Tale of New York, which is her first book. It was a big toss-up. I loved Take a Look at Me Now. I also loved I'll Take New York, which is the follow-up to this one, but I reread Fairy Tale of New York before reading I'll Take New York, and oh, it was just magical times. Loved this so much. I mean, if you love descriptions of New York, if you love a good love story with a bit of scandal in there, and if you love coffee, then this is definitely one for you. I couldn't recommend this one more. It's such a gorgeous read, and just like all Miranda's other books, it's incredibly optimistic, and I just love it. So now we're on to my 5 authors where I don't have my favourite book of theirs because I either read it a long time ago or I've only got it on ebook, so I'm going to show you another book of theirs. So Millie Johnson, her new book, The Queen of Wishful Thinking, comes out in May, but my favourite Millie Johnson novel is The Birds and the Bees. I just loved that book. I read it when I didn't have very many books, and I adored it, and I would love to go back and reread it, and it's definitely something I want to reread. And if you haven't read some of her earlier books and you've only just come to her now, then go back and read her back catalogue, because her early stuff is really good as well. Then we've got Lindsay Kelk. Quite an obvious one here. I've got one of her I Heart books here, I Heart London, but my favourite one definitely has to be I Heart New York. Such a good read. I'm sort of in the process of making my way through the I Heart series, so I'm ready for her new book, I Heart Forever, which is coming out in the UK in September. Very excited. So this is I Heart London. My favourite Lindsay Kelk though is I Heart New York. Then we have the wonderful Rowan Coleman. This book right here, the memory book, is an amazing read. I really, really recommend this one if you haven't read this one. I mean, look at this just gorgeous cover. This is out in the UK and the US. But my very favourite Rowan Coleman book is my first ever Rowan Coleman book, and it's one of her early ones. It's The Baby Group. Again, I'd like to go back and read that one. I read that about the same time as I read Millie Johnson's The Birds and the Bees. Apparently I was just reading books about babies at that time. But I love that one. And so Rowan Coleman, my favourite Rowan Coleman is The Baby Group. Memory book, also a really good read though. Recommend both of these. And then penultimately we have, of course, Sophie Kinsella. This is Sophie Kinsella's latest shopaholic book, Shopaholic to the Stars. Her book, My Not So Perfect Life, I did a video on, I think it was not the last video but the one before that, so definitely check back for my thoughts on that one. But my very favourite Sophie Kinsella shopaholic book is the very first one, Secret Dream World of a Shopaholic. It's the one that the film was based on, although the film kind of takes in books 1 and 2, but definitely the Shopaholic series is amazing. If you are asking me about my favourite Sophie Kinsella standalone, I think I'd probably have to say Can You Keep a Secret, although I've Got Your Number is fairly close by as well. But I just love Becky Bloomwood. I mean, who couldn't love her? And the Shopaholic series. If you haven't read it, get into it now. It's such fun. And then finally, we have another of my very favourite women's fiction authors. And that is Marion Keyes. This one is The Woman Who Stole My Life, which is one of her standalone novels. This is my signed copy and it's just so beautiful. I love this book. I kind of will get it out to stroke it. If you can see, this is like raised and sparkly, and this is gold and raised. We've got more gold in there as well. This is the Waterstones edition. I also got the Asda edition, which has pink sprayed edges, so I had them both sitting on my bookshelf. But my favourite Marion Keyes novel definitely has to be Watermelon. It's the first Marion Keyes novel that I read. Obviously, first books that I read by authors had a massive impact on me, but it's definitely a lovely, lovely read. It's quite sort of reassuring and optimistic and inspiring, and it's part of the Walsh Sisters series. I think it's the first one in the Walsh Sisters series, either that one or Rachel's Holiday. I read them in quite close succession, but I really liked Watermelon because I really liked reading about Claire. So this is The Woman Who Stole My Life, but my favourite Marion Keyes is Watermelon. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope sort of giving you some of the books that I actually have, but then talking about authors' other books as well has been helpful. And any of these authors, they are definitely hands down some of my favourite authors. Any of these authors are definitely worth a read. I'm planning on doing the same video but with young adult authors, or maybe a mixture of young adult and middle grade authors, so let me know what you'd like to see in there. I think I'll do it in similar format, so if I've got the book I'll have it, if not I'll show you another of their books. But yeah, hopefully I'll have that one up for you soon, and I will see you then. Bye.